Acting for the suspended SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane have demanded that President Cyril Ramaphosa halt the inquiry, and they've given him until Friday to do so. I remember that the Commission chair, former Judge Nugent, earlier dismissed a similar request and called it a disgrace. Meanwhile, in a new development, lawyer for Moyane, Dali Mpofu, has threatened to take legal action against legal commentator Pierre de Vos. De Vos has argued that the attacks on the SARS Commission by Moyane's team may be politically motivated, and in addition they may be unethical. Well, to discuss, we're joined by another lawyer for Moyane, Eric Mabuza. Thank you for being with us, Mr.
Thank
Mabuza.
you, Francis.
Can we start with the letter of demand to the President? I presume he hasn't responded yet.
Not yet. But of course he has until Friday to look at the matter and apply his mind. So there's nothing untoward about his non-response so far.
If he doesn't reply by the close of business on Friday, what happens?
Well, we've got firm instructions to take up the matter to court so that we can vindicate Mr. Moyane's rights.
There's been some disbelief around these demands, either that the inquiry is cut or that the disciplinary doesn't go ahead. Nugent called it a disgrace. Now Dali Mpofu has threatened legal action against Pierre de Vos, and I'd like to ask you your opinion, because it would also point to your behavior as a lawyer. He's saying there's no legal basis here, and the claims that are being made or the demands that are being made are possibly unethical.
Well, I don't have instructions for Advocate Mpofu, but what I can say, there are a few things that I can say about the comments of Professor de Vos. To suggest that a lawyer is unethical with no basis whatsoever, it's quite shocking, especially for someone in his position. Basically, he's saying we lied. He's got no basis to say that, but you know, he goes on to try and defend that position, which is indefensible. But as I say to you, I have no instructions for Advocate Mpofu on that score.
So you're not joining Mpofu in the fight, as it were?
But what I can tell you is that on previous occasions that Professor de Vos has made a prediction about cases that I was involved in, fortunately I've won at least 2 of them. I remember the secret ballot and also the impeachment. He made similar claims that there was no basis, but in the end the court disagreed with him and found for us. So that's just what I want to say about his predictions. However,
the former judge chairing this commission was also aghast and had very strong words. Let's go back. What is your basis for demanding that either the inquiry or the disciplinary process be stopped, be halted?
If you take aside, put aside the noise and the anger that people have, you'll see that what Mr. Moyane is demanding is nothing more than fairness. All he wants a process that is fair, that everyone can see that, you know, is not being subjected to 2 inquiries, which basically are dealing with the same issue. That can't be fair. In any fair-minded person, that should not happen.
The one, however, is internal and institutional. It links to SARS. The other is to help the President fix SARS, is to just give him advice, is a public process. How are those two the same thing?
Both issues deal with the governance of Mr. Moyane, because they all relate to SARS. You remember, even you look at the terms of reference for the SARS inquiry, it's for period 2014 to 2017. What he's charged for is for his conduct or alleged misconduct during that period. You would have seen, for instance, take the evidence of Pravin Gordhan. He gives evidence in the DC. He gives another almost same evidence in the inquiry. How can you say that the processes are unrelated?
If Tom Moyane has got nothing to hide, why would he not welcome any platform, given the claims swirling around him and his tenure at SARS, to clear his name? Why would he not speak internally to SARS and to the public?
You must remember that we are founded on constitutional values. One of the values is a fair inquiry. Only a fool would want to subject themselves to an inquiry that is patently unfair. There's absolutely no reason for Mr. Moyane to subject himself to an inquiry which on the face of it is unfair. All he is doing is not doing anything other than exercising his constitutional right. You will have seen that Mr. Moyane has been dignifiedly silent. He has not said anything. He's been vilified for over a long period of time now. We advised him to remain silent. And on the day that the inquiry is fair, once the president has removed all these obstacles, Mr. Moyane will surely attend one of the inquiries to set up his defense. You would have seen, for instance, on Friday, he's already indicated some of the basis of his defense. One of the things that is undisputed, for instance, is the fact that he's the first person and only person to collect $1 trillion. So this is not someone who's running away. The facts are there. Someone has to disprove that.
Yeah, you know that there's a court of law and a court of public opinion. Why would you say remain silent? Why would you embroil this process in a possible legal wrangle rather than telling your client to go out there and tell the South African public what he has to say?
But he has constitutional rights that he has to protect, regardless of what the public opinion says. The Constitution guarantees him constitutional rights, including a right not to be unfairly treated.
All right, so we've got the claims by Pierre de Vos, one of them about the lying, and I guess people do want to understand, why did you raise this argument in the first place of him not being invited? There was an understanding that he would be invited perhaps at the end, but the chair publicly said anyone can come before and state their case.
You know, Francis, if you look at the rulings of the chair, and I say that with respect, he's wrong on all scores. If you look, for instance, the invitation that we received not an invitation. We were informed as a matter of courtesy, telling us that the inquiry was going to start on the 26th. All other witnesses who testified were invited. And I know that for a fact because...
So this is about giving a personal invitation?
No, it's got nothing to do with that. The people that were invited consulted with the evidence leaders. They discussed the issues that they wanted evidence to be led on. You must ask yourself, why were all other people invited except the person who's at the center of the inquiry? That should make you worry.
So you still claim that he wasn't invited?
It's not a claim, it's a fact.
Even though the chair said anybody is invited to come and state their case here?
I mean, how can the chair say that?
That was not good enough.
How can the chair say that it was to say that, oh, I've invited any one of the 14,000 people that SARS could come, when the inquiry is about the governance of Mr. Moyane? With respect, that explanation just does not hold water.
There's been an even more explosive claim which affects the EFF and your client Tom Moyane. Jacques Poe, the author, says that maybe they have a common friend who was involved in tobacco, Mr. Mazotti. He says under Moyane, Mazotti's tax bill disappeared. Is that true?
Well, you know, it's easy for people to make grand claims. Mr. Moyane is linked to this or that. They must produce evidence and to justify that. I don't have any mandate for EFF, but people are free to make grand claims. You know, ultimately, the issue that I'm here for is to represent Mr. Moyane to ensure that he gets a fair hearing. So far, he has not received a fair hearing. Look, for instance, let me give you an example. There are two processes that are running. One is a DC, where the president refuses to come and testify orally. Then you have an inquiry where Minister Godan testifies. He puts 140-page presentation. We are not there. We are not invited. No one is there to cross-examine him.
But again, the chair has invited anyone. Why doesn't Moyane take up this opportunity to go before the inquiry in the South African public and clear his name?
Francis,
why would he not do that if he's got nothing to hide?
Francis, I don't understand why you don't understand such a simple point. Or you choose.
Let me finish. I understand your claim about fairness, but that is delaying him getting his chance to clear his name.
No one, if they remove what is unfair, Mr. Moyane is happy to go and testify any day. Why are you insisting that you should subject himself to a process that's unfair? You yourself, Francis, will never.
I think as a South African African, I'd like to hear from him. Surely all of South Africa would.
Then the president must remove the stumbling blocks and Mr. Moyane will go and testify freely.
Because the claims keep on adding up. Another claim from the former SARS official, Ivan Pillay, speaking to the New York Times, says the former president broke SARS, suggesting that Moyane was working for the former president. Doesn't he want to respond to those claims?
Remember, one of the complaints that we have is that Mr. Moyane was not given the right to rebut evidence. For instance, that's the kind of evidence, had Mr. Moyane been invited, he would be able to rebut and challenge Mr. Pillay and all other witnesses. Francis.
So in the meantime, he doesn't want to rebut this.
How can he rebut that when he's not been given an opportunity? Everyone, including you, all of us have a right to challenge our accusers. There is nothing difficult about that. It's nothing unreasonable about that.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm asking, why doesn't he go regardless? Why doesn't he just go regardless?
I'm sure you're not serious about that.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for coming in. That was lawyer for suspended SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane, Eric Mabuza.